Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley and today is Monday, which means it's Mental Health Monday. So today we are going to talk about coping skills and escapism. So if you guys have ever been in any sort of treatment or talked to a therapist ever, or maybe even just your parents, I'm sure you've heard a million and one times about if you're upset, use your coping skills, use your coping skills, use your coping skills, use your coping skills. And I'm sure it gets so old because you're like, okay, I get it.
Coping skills.
But I realized whenever I ask people what their coping skills are, especially, like I said, all of my experiences mostly with kids. So whenever I ask them, they're usually like, deep breathing, count to 10, which is good. Like, those things are important, but there's more than that. There's so much more than that. And I think that a lot of them don't really fully understand what a coping skill is. So today we're gonna dive into that a little bit. If you're ready to learn more, then stay tuned. All right, so today, coping skills versus escapism. Are you excited? Because I'm excited, because I feel like this is something everyone should know. Also, in the background of my videos, I always hear like this wind blowing sound, and I thought that maybe it's just like crappy audio because I film on my phone. And now I'm realizing that the place I'm filming is right above a heat vent, so that's probably what you're hearing. I will have to figure something out about that at some other point. But anyways, escapism and coping skills. First, I made myself a list of questions to help me stay on track, because you guys know I just love to ramble and get off track and talk about a bunch of random stuff that doesn't even have to do with anything. So I'm really gonna try and stay on task this video. So here's my little list. The first thing I made it in the form of questions because it's easier for me to answer questions than it is to just talk openly. So, what is a coping skill? A coping skill is something that you do to help you get through difficult times or anything that's considered stressful. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a traumatic event, even just at work or school, just trying to get through the day, anything that you do to help you do that. So an example of one that's not intense or crazy or anything like that. At work, when I would work 12-hour shifts and the days were super long, I would measure my days in meals. So I was like, okay, the kids went to breakfast, the day is just starting and it's stressful, and then lunch would come around and I'd be like, okay, the day is halfway over, what a great day, it's almost over. And then dinner, I'd only have an hour of my shift left, so I would look forward to meals to help me get through the day. Other examples would be, I said it in the intro, but deep breaths, counting to 10, coloring, anything like that. So anything you do when you're stressed out to help you relax, I guess, or calm down or ease your stress. When do you use them? So you can use coping skills whenever you need to use them. I've noticed that they work most effectively if you use them when you first start noticing signs of agitation. So I feel like a lot of times people try to shirk off their irritation when it first starts, yeah, that annoyed me, but it's no big deal, I'm just gonna ignore it. And sometimes that works, but I think it's best usually if you start using your coping skills then, start doing your deep breathing then, maybe walk away and take a break then, so it's easier for you to recover from that when it's just starting, as opposed to waiting until you're already escalated. Because if you're at the point where you're ready to punch somebody in the face, is a deep breath gonna help you? Maybe not. Probably not. But like I said, you can use it at any time. But like I said, you can use it at any time. Most beneficial being at just the early starting signs of getting agitated, but also another time that they work really well is after you're already agitated, because a lot of times when you do something and you act out, you do feel guilty afterwards. So it's kind of that shame, that sad, that regret, and that is a heavy feeling. That's just as heavy as getting angry in the first place or getting upset in the first place. So using them afterwards works too, and using them while you're escalated is great if you can manage to do that. But usually if you're at the point where you're escalated, either you're not really gonna be able to use your coping skills very effectively, or it's not going to be as beneficial. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't use them while you're escalated. Anytime you can is a great time to use them. Okay, next question on the list says, what is the purpose of coping skills? So the purpose of coping skills is to get you down to a rational mindset in order to deal with your problems. So, I mean, it's not just to stop whatever's going on and then get you to a point where you never have to think about it again. You should still readdress any issues that there are. So let's say your teenager has done something bad, they snuck out last night, or yeah, you wake up in the middle of the night, you find that they snuck out, they came home, and you're just yelling at them. Now might not be the best time for you to deal with your teenager. You are pissed, and I don't get what it's like to be a parent because I'm not one, but like I get being angry and wanting to like really put your foot down and like lay down the law, but chances are you are going to overreact a little bit. So your best bet is probably going to be to just calm down and either talk to them later or talk to them in the morning. But then the thing is, just because you're calm, it doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge it. So the purpose of the coping skill is to get you in a rational mindset. So once you're calm, it doesn't mean that issue's gone. Like, yeah, I'm calm, they're home now, so there's no problem. Like, they still snuck out. They still did something they weren't supposed to do. So there still needs to be some sort of reprimand or consequence for that. But just like wait until you're calm enough to come up with a reasonable, consequence, instead of just like flipping out, being like, you're grounded for 8 months. Like, that's not gonna help anybody. The reason that you need to be revisiting your issues is because you can't just ignore everything. Like, just because you feel better now, it doesn't mean you're gonna stay feeling better. So if you use your coping skills and you avoid an issue, well, you avoided it for right now and maybe you feel fine right now, but you didn't resolve it. So then when it happens again, it's gonna be even harder for you to deal with that issue because you're like, oh my God, I already dealt with this. I don't wanna do this again. So yeah, it's really important to deal with your issues after you're calm, and that is what the purpose of coping skills is, I guess. I kind of like tied that into 2 different things. Also, because I have a / how to use them, like you kind of think about coping skills can also be used for emotional regulation. So think about the mood and think about what you need for that mood. So if you're sad already and your coping skill is usually to listen to sad music, maybe now's not the best time to do that. For some people it is, because I know for some people it helps them to listen to sad music when they're sad to make them feel less alone, and for other people it just makes them less sad and it doesn't really bring any benefit. So maybe do the opposite of what you feel. So if you feel really, really sad, then maybe right now is the time to listen to upbeat music and cheer yourself up. Or if you're feeling super angry, maybe this is a good time to exercise and burn off that energy. Or for other people, it's a good time to maybe do something more calm like yoga or read something to bring your mind down. I know for me, with anger, it's best for me to let that anger out. So for me, that's when I'm gonna be physically active instead of hurting someone else. Or, I mean, not that I would hurt someone else, but like, instead of doing something that's detrimental, letting that energy out in a way that is more appropriate. But for other people, it's better for them to just calm down and do something that's gonna calm themselves down. Okay, what is escapism? Escapism is blatant avoidance of your problems. So a lot of times you can convince yourself that you're using coping skills, but really you are 100% avoiding your problems. Like I said, there is a big difference. Coping skills help you calm your mindset so that you can deal with it effectively later, whereas escapism is just pushing that down, just avoiding that problem. And guess what? It's gonna keep coming back. Like, you can push it down as much as you want, and even if the same issue doesn't happen again, that memory, someone's gonna trigger it. This is how we develop triggers, is you just like avoid things and then they just pop back up. So it's really important, like I said, to cope and not escape, not just run away. Why is one better than the other? We kind of just talked about that right now. So it just kind of helps with long-term solving the problem. Escapism is a short-term solution. It might make you feel better then. But the other thing too is like you're always gonna feel like you're running. Like every single time something happens, you have to find a way to, if you know someone doesn't like you, then you cut off that friendship. And if you don't like something at this job, then you quit that job. And if somebody said something that you didn't like, then you just decide you don't like that person anymore. You're gonna be constantly having to make up for running away, for avoiding your problems. You're gonna be constantly either having to apologize, or if you are someone who cannot apologize, constantly having to accept losing people in your life, which can lower your self-esteem and make you feel like you're the problem, which, I mean, based off your actions may be the problem, but really it's a resolvable issue. And I completely understand that desire to run, because I get that. Like, when something's uncomfortable, I don't want to be there, but that's why we have coping skills, to deal with it later, not to avoid it completely. Why do people escape, and how do you know that you're doing it? So I kind of explained why people escape. Maybe not really. I'll try to explain it a little bit better. So people escape because it's comfortable. You know, I was gonna say it's easier, but it's not always necessarily easier. It's not easy to just stop talking to someone you care about, or to just like up and leave something that you want to be a part of. So it's not necessarily easier, but it's safer. Like, a lot of times people have an innate nature to, or an innate desire for self-preservation. Like, you want to protect yourself, you don't want to look like the bad guy, you don't want to look stupid, and you don't want to get hurt. That's very common in just about everybody I've met. And so we escape to try and avoid those feelings, but a lot of times those feelings will follow you. And if you don't learn to deal with those feelings when that situation happens again, like I said, I am a broken record, when that situation happens again, you're gonna feel just as helpless, if not more helpless, because you're like, I've been through this already, why are we here again? So how do you know when you're doing it? Sometimes it can be hard, because escapism isn't always like quitting and running away. Sometimes it's like really putting yourself into something too. So like picking up extra shifts at work and working way too much to just avoid any of your other issues. Or one thing I read about that was really interesting to me, because I've never heard anyone talk about it before. I'm sure plenty of people have, but like it's never come across me before, is where people, I think it was called intellectualize something. I'll have to look it up. I'll put the word right here. So I looked it up again. It wasn't exactly the way I remembered it. The word is intellectualization, but it's not quite how I was explaining it there. I will do a video on defense mechanisms, and that's going to be one of them that I talk about. So I'll explain it a little better there. So for right now, just pretend I didn't say that. Okay, carry on. Bye. You intellectualize it. You turn it into like almost like a science project to kind of understand that sort of thing. But then in the same breath, you're not actually doing anything about it. Like, you're getting to the point where you understand it. Cool, great, we love that, you should. But then you don't do anything about it. You just like research and research and research. You're still avoiding the actual problem, which is actually dealing with the issue. So I guess to know if you're escaping when you're just running versus when you're dealing with an issue is like, just look back and say, did it resolve anything? Like, did you resolve anything? Did you go back? Did you fix, like, what? First of all, break down. What was the initial problem? What did you do about the initial problem? Was there a resolution? If not, then you didn't deal with it. Then you probably either tried to escape, or whatever it is, even if you did cope with it, clearly that's not done if there was no resolution. So maybe you should either go back and fix that, or figure out what the best avenue is from there. Because if it's something like a relationship that's like not good for you, and then you know you leave and you feel no resolution, well, stuff like that is a little different. Like, stuff like that kind of like messes with your head, where you're like, yeah, you're right, I didn't resolve it, I do need to go back. Sometimes you do need to leave. There's a difference between escaping and, you know, doing what's best for you. Like, sometimes there are situations that you shouldn't be a part of. But if you just find that you're in those situations like all the time where it's like everything, you constantly are having to start over or leave people behind. Well, maybe you're just running. So let's take a look at that. And if the case is that you're not just running and you're not escaping, then what's going on that these are the kind of people that you are involving primarily in your life? So that's still something to look into if you're constantly having to escape your life situation. So how do you stop doing that? That's kind of hard because there's not really a one size fits all answer for that. And I think that's the issue. I mean, not issue, but I guess the struggle with mental health in general is that what works for you might not work for him, for her, for them, for anyone. So like everyone kind of has to go through their own process and figure out what works best for them. But for me, the best way for me to stop like running from things is to just look at the bigger picture and like realize like, okay, this is not gonna help me. Because when I start running away, I start thinking about like, oh, thank God, like I'm not gonna have to deal with this anymore. I'm not gonna have to do this and that and that. And so I kind of have had to over time train my brain to realize like, you're not gonna have to deal with this and that right now. But then I remember a lot of feelings of guilt because with me, I was definitely one of those people who was like, I'm just gonna cut that friend off because I didn't like that, you know, I didn't like what they said, they didn't understand me, or I'm not gonna talk to this person anymore, I'm not gonna do this anymore. And in the time, I felt like I was doing the right thing and it was self-care. But then when I look back, I think about like a lot of friendships that I lost that I didn't need to lose, that were things that you need to work through because there's conflict. Like there will be conflict in life. You're not going to get along with everyone forever. So I just had to like stop and remember like a lot of people that I cared about that are no longer in my life and could be there. Think about that and then think again before you run. So think about how it's affected you in the past and then really consider like, is this a situation where I need to really stay and work on this? Is this a situation where I need to address the problem and fix it? Or is it really best for me to just be done with this? So we kind of talked about everything that I planned to discuss today with coping skills versus escapism. So real quick, I just wanted to go through some of the things that I do that help me cope with like things that I'm dealing with. So I have a few little things here for you guys. So first, I mean, they're in no specific order, but I have my aloe plant. He's so cute with his little spidery legs. He's sick probably. He's got like a hole in his leaf here and there's brown spots, whatever. I kill everything I touch. Everything. I've never kept a plant alive except for this one. So this is my little pride and joy. And then when things are kind of rough, I just like hang out with him. He doesn't have a name, so if you guys want to name him down in the comments, he really needs one. He's been around for a while. He deserves a name. So like gardening is a really good one. It's kind of like how a lot of times you feel better when you do something nice for someone when you're going through a rough time. So like keeping a plant alive can make you feel better too, because you're like, oh, I can do something, right? I mean, but I killed a lot of them. So if you're not good with plants, it might make you feel worse. But like that one time that you're able to keep one alive, you're gonna feel like a whole new bitch. Okay, another thing that helps me is this book that I bought. I actually bought it for my mom and sister for Christmas. Well, I bought one for my mom for Christmas, and then I was like, oh my god, that's so cute. I'm gonna get one for my sister too. And then I was like, oh my god, I love it, so I want to get one for me too. It's a year of positive thinking is what it's called. And I am not someone who like, I go through phases with reading. Like I'll read for a couple weeks and then after that it's just like too much work to read and whatever. But this one's really nice because it's just a quote a day. And I know this stuff is like corny to some people, but it's just something small, like something quick you can do, part of your morning routine. You get up in the morning, you read your quote, you drink some tea, you move on with your day. And it's just a really good way to start on a positive note. And I don't know what yours are like, but like usually if I am feeling a certain type of way, my brain tends to like relate things that might not be related to how I'm feeling. So a lot of times like the quote of the day will relate to my life because my brain like tricks it into relating to my life even though it has nothing to do with it. So I kind of look at it as like in answers it right away in the morning, kind of like an idea of how my day is gonna go, and it's all positive stuff. So I know a lot of people do that with a horoscope, like they'll read that and kind of, because everyone's looking for guidance. It makes you feel comfortable to have an idea of what you're in for. So some people read the Bible, some people read the news every morning, you know, like whatever it is that gives you guidance and makes you feel comfortable and feel safe. I think that's good for you. So for me, it's this, because I know that sometimes horoscopes will give you like a negative, you know, idea of how your day is going to start. And then when you start with that in your head, you're just kind of like worried all day, like anxious all day, like when's it going to happen? Something's not good is going to happen today. So that's why I love this. And I will read you guys today's quote. Today is March 25th. I filmed these videos way ahead of time. So the quote today is, take the risk. There is always a risk when you commit to authentically being who you are. You will be judged and some people may not like you. As scary as that may seem, don't allow yourself to become complacent in an effort to be liked by everyone else. You will be judged anyway, so why not be judged based on who you truly are? So it's like stuff like that. It's not something corny like seize the day, like, which is, I mean, that's great too, but like, I don't know. I really like this book. So if you guys want to check it out, I will leave a link. I got it on Amazon. So that's that. Another thing that helps me cope when things get really, really, really bad, I will read Perks of Being a Wallflower. As you can see, this book is in horrible shape because this book has been through some stuff. Like when I was inpatient at the hospital, I've dropped it in water. I've brought it everywhere with me. I literally, oh no, I think the binding is falling apart. I have to be so gentle with it. But I've literally gone through and underlined my favorite things in here. So this is kind of like my little companion when things get really rough, just having that, like, I guess, security blanket. So I mentioned astrology and horoscopes and whatever. Those of you who are kind of into astrology understand that it's a little more than just like hippy dippy bullshit. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is either. I'm not saying like, oh, this is full-blown science, but it is, like I said, something that just like brings me like security. So I got this little astrology for beginners for real life, and I really like it. It kind of breaks down everything, and so like having that to look at and kind of feel like I can understand myself more, because I have probably mentioned this in some video at some point, and if not, I'm sure I'll mention it later. But I do have borderline personality disorder, and sometimes it is really easy to like feel lost and feel like you don't have like a direction, or like you don't know who you are. And so like having this book, like, because otherwise the alternative is you start seeking that out in people. You start looking for people to almost copy, to imitate, to be like. And so having this book helps me, because then I don't go and ruin my whole life. I just kind of have something to sit down and focus on that also gives me the answers that I feel like I'm looking for. And just in my experience, like a lot of it has been accurate to what I'm like, so that makes it easier for me to relate to this kind of stuff. And then I have my coloring books. I don't really use these as much. I know it helps a lot of people to use these like super detailed coloring books. For me, it causes me insane anxiety. I'm like, how in the am I supposed to go through and color all these tiny little lines? I do not have the time, I do not have the patience, I do not have the amount of colors that I need. So, but if that helps you, that's something that you can do. Also, I prefer painting, and for me, I like painting because I like being able to like mix the colors myself and like come up with what you want, and I like that there's like different textures and everything. So painting for me is a lot better than coloring. But if you're someone who prefers that, all those coloring books are really cool. And then this one is my holy grail for when things are just bad, like real bad. Like I should probably go see a doctor, but I'm just not in the place where I'm gonna go see one. Like that is when I break out this little guy. But also, I feel like this helps me deal with other people as well. Like, I've brought this to work with me when I was working with the kids, and helping understand other people's minds, because it teaches you to like break down how you're feeling and kind of like separate your emotions from your life. So when needed, of course, like emotions are important, it's good to feel things, but like when you're overly emotional, and I didn't explain what this was, it's a DBT book. So like any of you who have been in therapy before probably know about like DBT and CBT. So CBT is like the therapy, talk therapy, like you sit down and talk with your therapist, and CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy, and DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy. So this one is more about coping and dealing with your emotions and like regulating them, managing your life, understanding that, you know, other people's actions don't necessarily always have anything to do with you, not taking things personally, trying to manage, because like people with borderline personality disorder are extremely sensitive. That's kind of what we're known for. So like helping you take that step back and be like, okay, like this is not all about you. The world does not revolve around you. Like someone didn't do this specifically to upset you. So this book has been such a saving grace for me. So I would, out of all of these, the two that I would recommend the most are this one and The Year of Positive Thinking. So I hope that you guys got some helpful information today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will try and answer as many as I can. And if not, like I said, I hope you guys found something useful in this video. I will catch you guys next time. Happy Monday. Bye!